Howdy, I'm Mitchell Whittington from the Visit Jefferson YouTube channel. It's really easy to find. All you have to do is, in any browser, put in www.visitjefferson.com and it'll take you straight to the channel. Well, to quote one of my favorite game show hosts, Steve Harvey, man, I got a good one for you today. That's the way he starts out every Family Feud. And in this case, it's really true. I do have a pretty good one for you. When you clicked on this link, you probably noticed it was about the treasure of Clarence Braden. Now, Clarence Braden is quite an interesting character. I mean, Jefferson has had a number of fascinating stories and legends come out over the years, and I've covered quite a few of them on the channel. But probably one of the most interesting is the tale of the treasure of Clarence Braden. You're looking at him right here. Clarence Braden is a true Jefferson legend, and one that is remembered today through books, newspaper accounts, and tales from our tour guides here in town. The story of Clarence and his treasure is certainly an interesting one. Just as an introduction, Clarence Camille Braden was born in Jefferson, Texas on September 29th, 1895. As he grew, newspapers of the day were filled with his accolades. For example, in November of 1904, he made the 4th grade honor roll. Yep, Clarence was making the newspapers even at a young age, something that would continue throughout his life and, well, even beyond. As an adult, Braden had been commissioned as a lieutenant during World War I and faithfully served his country in that role. Clarence graduated from Texas A&M University in 1918 and later became a civil engineering professor there, as well as at Southern Methodist University for a number of years. After leaving the military, Clarence was very active in the American Legion for the rest of his life. In 1950, the American Legion gave him the award of a lifetime membership, and you see it being presented in this newspaper photograph. Clarence is the fellow on the right. He was a very generous man. Braden had season tickets to the Dallas summer musicals, but seldom attended. Instead, he would distribute the tickets to his friends around town. He seemed to take pleasure in doing things for other people. Clarence's accolades and service to the city go on and on. Clarence was the mayor of Jefferson and also served for quite some time as the Marion County Democratic Executive Chairman. For years, on election night, he recorded the voting results on a big chalkboard in the courthouse. Clarence attracted crowds who were just as much interested in his dramatic flair for posting the statistics and announcing the trends as in the actual outcome of the election. He was also a great advocate for Jefferson's youth. One former Jefferson High School football player recalled the times that Braden had taken his car full of athletes to out-of-town games. In 1954, Clarence served as the chairman of American Legion Boys State, a program that teaches civic responsibilities to young men in high school. He was very proud of the Jefferson boys attending the program and was on hand for their send-off every year as they boarded the train. After wishing them well at Boys State, he would present them each with cookies and fruit for the train ride to Austin, along with $1 or $2 for spending money. People did notice certain eccentricities in Braden over the years, however. For example, if he heard of a needy family, he would have a local grocer send them a basket full of food. Instead of staple items, though, Clarence would choose fruit and gourmet food to fill the basket. He also bought everything with paper currency, but always asked for his change in coins, for a reason that would not become apparent until after his death. Another organization that he worked with was the National Foundation for Infantile Paralysis, aka the March of Dimes. On Wednesday, June 20th, 1956, Clarence was presented with an 18-year service pin at the local chapter of the foundation. After serving as chairman of the chapter, he remained on the executive committee for the group for years. He was a member of the Rotary Club and had a perfect attendance record. He even attended meetings through failing health. Once he was hospitalized in New Orleans with complications of diabetes, but still hired an ambulance to take him to a local Rotary Club meeting. On the day before his death, the Jefferson Rotary Club met in his hospital room in Jefferson to help preserve his perfect attendance record, which at that time spanned 32 years. Clarence died on June 21st, 1962, at the Terry DeWare Clinic Hospital on Henderson Street in Jefferson. One newspaper wrote of Braden, "He traveled widely, owned property, and helped persons in need. As a private project, he paid for the schooling of deserving boys and girls." Clarence Braden was a genuinely good, honest man and model citizen who was undeniably a community servant. But the death of Clarence Braden is where our story really begins. Newspaper accounts say that in his last week, Clarence checked into the Terry DeWare Clinic in Jefferson with a suitcase. Some accounts reported it was so heavy it took 2 men to carry it inside. The suitcase was put in his room, and after his death, opened so that the hospital could inventory it for family. Inside were boxes of coins. Everyone thought that was extremely strange. For some time prior to his death, he had lived in a boarding house, and when the administrator of his estate began inventorying his room there, shoeboxes and cigar boxes were found stuffed with U.S. coins. Word began to spread, and all eyes turned toward the Haywood House, his family home on Market Street in Jefferson. The place was opened and found to be filled with vessels of coins, large glass jars, urns, baskets, and more. Containers of every size and type were packed with coins. Thousands of dollars in bills were also found to be stuffed between the pages of almost 3 tons of books, magazines, and newspapers. The family even found a carton of Sano cigarettes that had been opened. On closer examination, they discovered that Clarence had rolled up dollar bills into the size of cigarettes and replaced the actual cigarettes with those. The family also discovered that Clarence hadn't unpacked his suitcases after some of his many trips abroad. They found suitcases filled with gifts for his friends back home that were unopened and even still had a customs tag on them. A 2-ton truck was enlisted to move the money from the Haywood House to the First National Bank, and the more money they moved out of the house, the more the workers found. There were even piles of coins on the floor that were too heavy to sweep up. A shovel had to be used. When the truck rolled away from the Haywood House, its load was so heavy that it could only move in its low gear. The coins were delivered to the local bank. A coin counting machine was borrowed from the First National Bank of Marshall, and the counting process began. The exact amount of Braden's coins may never be known, but at one point, the bank declared the total of the coins to be $55,337. Now, at the time of this video, the value in today's dollars would be well over $500,000. It's no wonder that so many people went into a frenzy trying to find more of it. Over the following week, something like a massive Easter egg hunt exploded in Jefferson. Anywhere that Clarence Braden had ever lived, stayed, or stored items was searched. Attics, closets, you name it. And more of the boxes of coins began to turn up. A cousin found a wicker basket of coins. Boxes, crocks, and churns filled with coins were found in J.H. Benefield's attic. The city of Jefferson was flooded with reporters from all across America and many foreign countries as word of the curious fortune began to spread. Before his death, Braden had rented an upstairs room at Singleton's Virginia Cross House for several months. When he moved out, he left a lot of clothes hanging in the closet, and they were never able to get Braden to come back and retrieve his clothes. But after he died, the clothes were removed and the room searched. No money was found in the room. However, several large pots full of silver coins were discovered in the attic just above the room where Braden had rented. By the way, Singleton's Virginia Cross is a historic tour home that is well worth a visit when you're in Jefferson. On Sunday, June 25th, 1962, a suitcase full of brand new $1 bills was found in a clothes closet of another room Clarence had been renting in Jefferson. A few days later, on June 28, 1962, yet another cache of coins was discovered, adding fuel to the fire that was already burning out of control. The Associated Press picked up the story, and it appeared in newspapers across the nation, from Washington State over to Maine, from California all the way down to Florida, and most every state in between. I don't think that Jefferson, Texas had received this much national attention in the news since Diamond Bessie was murdered here in 1877. And by the way, there's a video about that on the Visit Jefferson YouTube channel if you'd like to learn more about that. The thing is, Clarence was a good and generous man and an outstanding civil servant of Jefferson. Was he a little bit eccentric? Well, obviously, but most of us are to one degree or another. As for me, well, my loved ones are in for a surprise when I pass. You see, I still read and collect Thor comic books. In fact, I've been buying them since the early days of my youth, and I own every Thor comic book ever printed except for one. In some ways, I actually wish that my little oddity was hoarding cash instead of comic books, and I know that my heirs are going to feel the same way. Anyway, perhaps the real treasure of Clarence Braden was that he was such a philanthropic man and left his mark on the city of Jefferson. He was an active part of our community for sure. And he also caused an incredible frenzy when he passed. There are actually some folks here in town that believe that maybe all of his treasure has not been discovered yet. That's where my story of Clarence Braden ended, at least until a short while ago. I'd been trying to figure Clarence out for some time, and I really couldn't. I mean, some newspapers said he was crazy. Obviously, he wasn't. He was a very well-respected man, a politician at times. He headed up several different charities over the years, and he also taught civil engineering at Texas A&M and SMU, two very prestigious colleges here in Texas. So I don't think we could refer to him as crazy at all. Others said that he was stingy, but again, obviously he wasn't. He gave money to charity. He paid for people's education that couldn't afford it. He did so quietly, never bringing any attention to himself. He gave gifts to people. He gave gifts to people in needs. He gave gifts to his friends. He was always thinking about other people and willing to spend his money on them. So I don't think that that's the behavior of a penny pincher. Still, other reporters claim that he was a money-hoarding miser, and I don't see him as that either. He spent years leaving boxes of coins and dollar bills and hiding them and placing them everywhere where he had spent time. And a miser hoards their money. They count it. They want to be surrounded with it. They want it all around him. Well, once he filled a vessel full of coins, he set it aside and never went back to it. He just stashed it. That's not the behavior of a miser at all. I'd pretty much given up on understanding Clarence Braden until something happened unexpected one day. There's a fellow I know who was a good friend of mine over the years, and one day an envelope showed up in the mail. It was addressed to me, and it had my friend's name on it, but his address was simply eternity. Well, I didn't know what to make of that, so I opened it up and found that my friend had died. On his deathbed, he had written me a letter, and it said, "Hey, Mitch, whoa, I finally made it into eternity. The line was so long I couldn't see the end of it or the beginning. After I got in, they gave me my room key and schedule of events. Do me one favor. When it's your turn, bring me a change of clothes. Oh, wow, there goes your granddad. I got to go catch up to him and say howdy. I'll keep a lookout for you." I'm sorry. He closed by saying, "See you later." And I expect that to be true. I expect to run into my friend again. My wife found a notice of his death on social media, and when I realized that my friend was really gone, it really touched me. And the thing that touched me so much was he took the time in dying to write me a letter. And that was his sense of humor. That was my buddy perfectly. I'm going to have to redo this. Gosh, I can't sit here and cry on camera like this, but man, I miss him. I assume that he got somebody to put it in the mail right after it died, and that way I got it just a couple of days afterwards. I spent a while processing all that, but at one point I suddenly thought of Clarence. Okay, I took a moment to pull myself together. Sorry about that. Now, I'm not saying that what I'm about to speculate on is true, but it does kind of explain everything that happened after Clarence's death. In one little corner of my mind, I have to wonder if Clarence spent all that time throughout his life secretly orchestrating a citywide scavenger hunt, one that would cause a frenzy in town after his death. I mean, why else would he leave jars of coins at every place where he lived? And the suitcase full of coins that he took to the hospital with him, maybe he took that with him just to light the fuse. I don't know. It would make sense, though. And I have to think that it would be fun putting that together. My buddy, when he wrote this letter to me, I think he probably had to spend some time having some fun doing it, wondering what he was going to write me from the great beyond. And maybe Clarence was doing that the whole time when he was putting all these coins and bills together. I mean, newspapers of the day painted him as an eccentric, and clearly he was. We all are to one degree or another. But they also hinted at him being a miser or even crazy. Like I said before, he was neither of those. Not at all. He was a good man who served the city, and the citizens loved him so very, very much. He used his money to help children, underprivileged citizens, and his friends as well. Maybe, just maybe, he spent part of his life coming up with a plan that would not only create a commotion after his death, but would also secure his role as a part of Jefferson's history. After all, you're not going to find a book about Jefferson that doesn't contain a chapter about Clarence Braden, including one that I wrote. Yes, I have a chapter about Clarence in here. You can get this on Amazon if you want to learn more about the history of Jefferson and Clarence Braden. Like I said, I can't know for sure. Maybe it's just my mind wandering a little bit, but whatever the case, rest in peace, Clarence Braden. And thank you for everything that you did for Jefferson and for its citizens. I honestly wish that I'd known you. There's a pretty good chance that we share a similar sense of humor, and I think we could have been friends. I have to wonder if he orchestrated the best practical joke that had ever been played in East Texas. And if he did, well, the joke's on us. As a footnote to Clarence's story, whenever I pass by his grave when I'm visiting Oakwood Cemetery, I usually stop and leave a penny on his headstone. I kind of think that Clarence would have liked that. Well, thanks for listening. And again, Visit Jefferson is full of different videos for you, and we'll be adding more as time goes by. So if you would, take a second and hit subscribe. Nothing weird happens. It just lets you know whenever we have a new video up. Also, if you would hit the little like, thumbs up under the video, that it's a simple thing to do, but it really helps the channel a lot. I do appreciate it, and I will be seeing you around Jefferson.